Okay, we're recording.
Okay, great.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the Winnipeg Real Estate Panel. Not so live. It's pre-recorded. Yeah. But it is a candid conversation that we're having today on May 14th. So it's pretty much as good as a live. So we're going to talk about the April statistics now that they're out, because it's essentially a snapshot of how COVID-19 has affected the Winnipeg market. It's an entire month that was completely affected by the restrictions, which is kind of cool to kind of look at. And yeah, so Nav, why don't you start us off with some of the numbers?
Yeah, for sure. So we can go over single family detached, some of the facts. The average price is still holding off at 331, and I think that's very comparable. 331,000, not 331, which is very comparable with what we see in the spring market, anyways. So we don't necessarily see a drop in average prices as of yet. The only thing we are seeing is a significant drop in listings that are coming on the market and the options that have buyers. So that's actually fueling a lot of listings that are coming up have offers date, and it's actually fueling bids quite a bit. So I'm not too sure. I guess it'll be neat to see how the next month kind of looks in terms of average prices. But I know a bunch of my clients are looking, and every house has offers date and they're going over asking. So I don't know. I don't see a slowdown in the real estate market or drop in prices. I don't know, what's your take?
John, why don't you take over?
Yes, I agree. I personally, my experience was it kind of slowed down for the end of April, maybe the first week of May, but things have ramped right back up. I wrote a couple offers, or one for sure where we wrote under, and my client's like, "Oh, we can get a deal. It's COVID." And I was like, "Well, no, there's just no supply, no listings. So what is selling for top dollar." And I think this is as the average house price, like you said, is 321,000 is staying up there. So there's no amazing deals right now, but it's a lack of inventory, and I just think that our spring market is going to get pushed into summer. I think because a lot of sellers are holding off. Doesn't mean they're not going to sell this year or have to sell or what, but they're just holding off until COVID is more in control, which I think it looks like it is in control here now that they're, opening up the market again.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And yeah, I think this is just a great look at the Winnipeg market in general. Here we are in a pandemic and house prices are staying extremely level. Supply went down, demand came down, and house values, I guess, have stayed stable. So that's Winnipeg for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for the attached listings, the average price is 253,000, which is very sort of comparable. We don't really see a huge shift in attached houses anyways, so that seems stable for now. Condominiums was surprising. The average price is at 253,000. That is crazy.
I totally agree. And up from March, just as a comparison, March we saw the average price at 239. So huge jump.
For a condo, that's pretty high.
Yeah.
Because that's technically very close to an attached dwelling. Yeah. And what is your experience with condos? I don't really have many clients looking for condos at the moment, so I'm not really keeping a track on it. But have you guys been monitoring the condo market?
I haven't either really recently. How about you, John?
Well, with condos, I do a few of them here and there. Obviously, I don't chase that business, but I do work with them, and I think that over the next few years, we're going to see that market continue to stay strong because of, I think, the baby boomers are downsizing. There's the downsizers. So condos are that neat market. You get the downsizers and you get that entry level to the market, right? But I do want to talk about, we got to mention the mobile home spike. I don't know if you guys saw that. So there's that mobile, a come to that later. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because people that live in that apartment block style, we think that maybe they're like, you know what, I'm not ready to buy a house yet, can't afford that jump, but I could qualify for a mobile home, and that gets me kind of my own space.
Yep.
You know, and I think that one of our things in Manitoba, because we don't, you know, live in sky rises, all of us, and that's why we maybe did a bit better than a place like New York, where it's just buildings and everyone's kind of living, you know, with each other and on the subway and that kind of stuff. But the condo market, I do have a condo, and it's been very slow. We just got a showing. That's coming up, I think tomorrow. Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. So that's good. But yeah, as the stats show, condo market's even slower. So we'll just have to hang in there, and just, if you've got one for sale, you got to just be careful of that. Another one I got for sale, we were so close to getting an offer, and they ended up going with the other one. And I told my clients, we just wait it out. We don't go and buy something, get comfortable. We don't want to give it away, but just get comfortable in your condo until it does sell, and eventually it will for the right price.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to add something to your mobile home comment. It's a bit of a tangent, but my parents are obviously baby boomers, and I was just talking to my mom the other day about they go to Phoenix for the winter, and they are in a mobile home park there for most of the winter. And she just made a comment about how, you know, when they do decide to downsize from their current house, how nice it would be to be in a similar situation and be in a mobile home for the summers in Winnipeg, and then go down south and do that, which I thought was kind of a crazy idea, but could be, could be a trend. I don't know. All right, so let's chat about kind of some of the Winnipeg as a whole statistics. So the number of sales were down 30%, and the number of new listings on the market decreased by 42% compared to April 2019. Let's chat about that a bit. What do you think about those numbers? How is that going to affect the market? How did it affect it, etc.?
So, you know what, the last 2 weeks of April, we were looking with some first-time home buyers, and there was absolutely no inventory. So it seems, just considering the experience my clients had, that seems like, yeah, there was definitely no listings on the market. Mm-hmm. But since last week, every single day there are listings coming up. So maybe people are just, you know, with all everything opening up, maybe people are a little bit more, there's not so much uncertainty regarding COVID that we had. You know, at first there wasn't enough information known, so people were just very afraid. Now that sort of seems to be going away, and then people are going back to normal. I don't know if the spring market will be similar to the other spring markets that we've had previous years, but it will be definitely interesting to see how May pans out.
Yeah, I agree. I think, sorry. Yeah, I think this is not going to be a trend for May and June for sure. It was in April, kind of as the restrictions were tighter. If we do get another wave of restrictions down the road, then we may see a similar thing again.
Yeah.
And speaking of restrictions and lifting of restrictions, John, maybe do you want to take us through what is now opening up for agents and people looking for houses, things that are changing?
Like for the open houses kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so we've just gone back to opening the open house option. And this is exciting news. You're hearing it first. We're just proposing that agents can do scheduled appointments for the open house. Okay. Oh. So what we're looking at doing, so you'll see an agent that have open house. There was an example of noon to 5, and he said 9 appointments available. Book yours, right? So then you know we could go and book our client a spot for a client to go there for a 15-minute look, exclusive look at this house during the open house. So obviously there's some discrepancy if this is the best practice for businesses for you and your clients, but at least it's the only option we have right now is that open houses are going to be opening up, but it's not just a walk up at the same time. You can't just walk up and necessarily get in, right? You might be able to go and wait in line, but they're just giving people 15 minutes exclusive access to the house. The agent would accompany you and keep their space. But then there'll be the sign at the door will say showing in progress, please wait, sort of thing. Or you'll call the agent when you get there to say I'm here or something like that. So that's kind of what we're currently at open houses. We're just allowing people to now advertise, schedule appointments, whereas before that wasn't allowed because they wouldn't call an open house. But we're looking at opening that up until September and then revisiting that.
Nice. That's kind of an interesting take on open houses. I wonder if that will kind of, I think in general, this whole thing will promote buyer's agents on one hand, because you're not necessarily doing the open houses where people feel comfortable just walking in and chatting with, whoever's there, and possibly, properties aren't as accessible in that way. So you essentially need to contact an agent for some sort of access. Even in that case, you need to book an appointment for an open house. It's just not as accessible.
Yeah. And I think even with showings, clients are not familiar or buyers don't know. Most of the sellers are requesting that a COVID-19 declaration form be signed, and we have to send that in before we get a confirmation for a showing. So with our brokerage, what we do is we have online declaration forms through Adobe Sign, and we send the link out to the client, and then they can just do it online and send it back. It's just easier than having to wait for the client, get signatures and have them fill one. Or I think some sellers, what I've seen, they would put the forms outside, so before buyers can enter, they have to fill the form and then they can go in.
Right.
So there's the different measures that everyone's taking. And I think people just don't understand what the reason is. The reason is if there was a positive case in that particular house, they need to contact everyone that has been in that house or has been in contact with anything close to them. So it's just a way for them to have the names, phone numbers, emails on hand in case there was a positive case.
Yeah.
I think we're just getting the forms signed and we're just retaining them. I'm finding that we just get them signed, retain them. And I love your idea with the digital signature. We had that done once, and that's definitely the way to go, I think. And I was going to mention that the REN, if you've noticed, there's a new section, which is for virtual tours, or also you'll find some agents doing a virtual tour open house. So they'll go to the house, they'll advertise it. And there's just a new section just for that. So it's where clients can just kind of log in and get like a tour. And I believe you can ask questions throughout the virtual tour.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of electronic signatures, some people may not know, but real estate agents actually have not, in Winnipeg, real estate agents elsewhere,
Let's mention that.
have not been allowed to do electronic signatures. And now due to COVID, they've opened up electronic signatures as a legal binding option. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, my personal opinion, I think, why is Winnipeg always so far behind than other provinces? I just don't understand that. We're like in a 21st century and electronic signatures are permissible. That's just ridiculous. Like if anyone from Maria is listening to this, like you guys really need to work on this. It's just beyond ridiculous. I can't comprehend it. Like every other province has electronic signatures, and they've been working at it for 5 years. I just don't understand how that it takes 5 years for something this simple to change effect. And with COVID-19, they were able to make temporary changes all of a sudden. So I'm not too sure what's going on, but I think that really needs to come into effect. electronic signatures need to be permissible. We work with so many investors and they're all out of province. It makes it so difficult to bring any sort of wealth into the city when you're not accommodating to investors outside of the city. So I feel they really need to like work on it. That should be a priority. Whoever is on that case, they need to kind of get their act together.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, let's hope that now that we have it, we'll just never let it go. That's I'm on board with that. And again, it's funny, years ago when DocuSign came out, I was like, oh, this is great, I'll just get this. And me not being a fact finder, I didn't know it was in the, you know, and I had some deals go through, and one broker's like, oh, we can't accept that. I was like, why not? Electronic signature. And like, but it's DocuSign. It's all formal, and it tracks the exact email and who it belongs to, and it's just as safe and secure as a signature, if not more. So you can actually read everything. It keeps the offer legible.
Yeah.
So I'm on board with you, Nav. Let's just fight to not let it go.
Yeah, definitely.
I think more realtors really need to expect that from our association. You know, we need to ask for more convenience because at the end of the day, that's where the world is moving to, more convenience. You know, it's just ridiculous having to drive at 11 at night just to get one signature.
Yeah, to get initial on a price change or something.
Initial on a price change, you know.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't think that's where realtors provide value, driving around getting signatures. Anyone can do that. So we should really, I think if anyone's listening from Winnipeg Realtors, Maria, I don't know who's dealing with this, they need to make that a priority after COVID is done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I've talked to some of the guys as the tech committee, and they kept reassuring me it's coming. But like you said, now that we have it, let's just not let it go. And maybe we have to be some more advocates for that, and I'd be willing to do that too. So.
Yeah, no, too.
Yeah, clearly. And yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So I did mention that they're allowing electronic signatures, but as of right now, they're just allowing electronic signatures until September, and at which point it's up for review, I guess. Yeah, and I wanted to add, so even DocuSign has reports that you can print out about the time that the person signed in. You can add passwords to make it more secure. There's so many things, added security things that are in place that there really shouldn't be any reason that it's not allowed. So,
and you know what? I think their worry is that somebody might say I'm not the one who signed. But you know what? You have a lot of communication with buyers when you're going back and forth. You're texting, you're calling them, you're emailing them, telling them what's going on. So it's just, you're not relying on the offer. No one can come back say I didn't sign this, because you have back and forth text. You know, there's just so much evidence that that's the person who signed it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's a really ridiculous claim that they can come back and say that they didn't sign the offer.
This wasn't me. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, so I have a little bit of interesting statistics from my area, from River East, which I just kind of wanted to share, and I think maybe you guys both found this a similar thing, but from April 2019 to April 2020, River East actually lines up exactly with how the Winnipeg as a whole market lines up. Sales were down 30%, and that's exactly what we saw in the rest of Winnipeg. So it's kind of interesting to see how individual areas can, you know, sometimes, you know, certain areas still continue to be above average or below average, but yeah, it's interesting. Interesting to see. Yeah, is that kind of all we had to talk about today?
One stat that I liked is that 21% of the sales in April. Again, first off, that April sales, 20% of the sales in April were above list price. So like it goes what you're saying and seeing out there, that the little supply that's out there, there's still a good demand. I think there's that the buyers have the momentum that they psychologically plan to buy. They haven't lost their job. You know, nothing's permanent, so they're continuing to purchase. So that's cool. 20% above asking price. And then also we see that 21% of the market of the sales, which is the biggest chunk, was between 250 and 300,000. And that's kind of cool. You can get a really nice, a decent home for that kind of price range in our market. It keeps things affordable. You're not going to be house poor. And yeah, that's where I bought my house in that price range. Now the next one I'll be looking for might be a bit above that, but you know, it's a great starter price or mid-level range. You can live in a decent home for that kind of price and keeps it affordable.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think the other thing we were talking about before we started recording this was our clients are, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's the same.
Yes.
Some of my clients have asked me that whether they should hold on selling their houses until September or October when this COVID kind of goes away. Personally, my response has been, I don't know. You know, like nobody really knows. Because right now the restrictions are being lifted, we are slowly reopening, but if there's a second or third wave, we might see everything kind of into the same boat we were in March. So it's really hard to say what the September, October market will look like, whether it makes sense to hold off. Like it's a very hard to say at this point. Right now we know that if your house is sort of good, doesn't need much work, but in offers date, all the houses are selling.
Yeah.
We know of that fact as of now. Now, if that changes in a month, who knows really? If there's a second or third wave, it might. But if you need to sell, I think now would be the best time to sell.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only market that we can be sure of is the market we're in right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so it's very difficult to say. And yeah, like you said, I think the market right now is actually, it has been doing well and it's continuing to do well. Numbers like the amount of sales are dropping, but the prices aren't dropping.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I have a nice listing on Windermere right now, and we're getting tons and tons of traffic, lots of showings. And I sold their kids' home earlier in St. Norbert, and then they wanted to sell as well. And I said, sell now. Like I just sold a house over on Edgerton in a couple of days for top dollar. Sell now, because unless there's health issues, like if you have underlying health issues, then you may have to figure out what's best for you to keep you safe. Maybe that's leaving your home for a few days and having showings and an offers date. You're already, you know, maybe you can go to the cabin or stay with somebody else that you can self-isolate with to keep yourself safe, because you can get top dollar right now. A lot of my buyers, I say, you know, if you can wait, you might find some deals later on, come fall time, come winter time, if you want to wait. But a lot of my buyers, they just still decide to kind of, you know, push forward, and they've got buying in their mind now. So,
yeah. And you know, a lot of people have their leases that are coming up for renewal in end of July and August. And for those people, you have to start looking now. Like there's not enough time. It takes time to find a house. And then after that, you're looking at about at least a month for possession if it's vacant, or more if they're occupying the property. 2 or 3 months is not unusual. So yeah, for buyers, some of them don't have a choice. You know, they have to start looking because their leases are ending end of July or August.
Yeah, very true. Awesome. Well, great discussion. We'll be back next month to discuss May, which I'm really excited about. I'm interested to see the numbers, and you know, April versus May is going to be really interesting. But
yeah, no, thank you, Dana, for organizing this.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, take care.
thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you next
Bye,
time.
guys.
Yeah, bye.